And then comes the second meal of the day. And here there are basically two options. You can have 3 meals in a day like we usually have here, or you can have 2. 2 is preferable, but is one of the things I've never managed to organize in my life here. Because here everything is so organized in 3 meals that, for example, for my son this is quite complicated if I want to only have 2 meals. But it's quite possible to survive with 2 good meals in a day. One good breakfast around 10, one good, whatever you call it then, bigger meal around 4 or 5. Before sunrise. This is actually the main objective. Before sunrise, digestion will be much easier than after sunrise. Sunset. So before sunset it will be a lot more easy than after sunset. Because then the energy will be less. But as I said, even I can't do it here. It's just too complicated. But in India, very common. And then during the day, there is some more time, if you have the time, for yoga practice, but then mostly asana. Before the meal, obviously. Asana should not be done within 2 or even 3 hours after eating. Because, you will bend double and everything. This is very negative for your digestion. You should never do that. But so if you want to do asana during the day, and you have a habit maybe of eating at noon around 1 o'clock, then maybe 12:30 you start doing some asana practice. This is very good, and it will also stimulate your appetite. You will have a good, flexible, healthy, energized body, and then start the digestion. This is very good. And then when the evening comes, as I said, around sunset also there is a little time for Shanta. And it may not always be at the right time for you. But definitely after you come home from work, then taking a little time for Shanta is very important. Work is very tiring. Especially these days, work is very stressful, very, very tiring for mind. If you go home and you don't do something about it, then the chance that you will not be able to do much more productive than watching TV is going to be very high. That's reality today. We think that we work less than in the old time. And we may be working less hours, yes. But the kind of work that we do is extremely stressful, demanding a lot of mental energy. In the old days, people, would work and do something which is actually very meditative. Weaving a cloth, or working the earth, or something. People these days, they do it on a holiday to get a little, stress release. The work that we do now is very stressful. So you need to do something when you come from work. And you don't need much time for that. Maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. To do a little asana, to do a little breathing, maybe to do a little chanting of mantra, maybe to do a tiny bit of meditation. As I say, it's not the best time for meditation, but at that time you need to do something like that just to relax your mind. And if you do that, that also will very much change your life. Just this 15-20 minutes will very much change your life, because then you will again have the energy to make a good evening, which many people, to my opinion, they don't have. They have a very dull kind of evening, not inspiring at all. They don't have the energy anymore to do anything inspiring. So first you have to create that energy again. And then maybe you can paint, you can do some things, visit friends, all these things we've been talking about will happen in a very different way. I'm not saying you can't watch TV. I'm just saying you should be conscious about the effect of your work on your being, on your mood, on your energy, and compensate for it. And then whatever you do afterwards, anyhow, it's your own choice. But probably it will be more entertaining, more creative, more uplifting. One important thing also to say is, apart from these meals, eating things in between, snacks, chips, chocolate, biscuits, not advisable. Your digestive system needs rest. You need to give it rest. If you put Mars bar into it, like 2 hours after your midday meal, no good idea. So this is one thing. And another thing which should be avoided during the day, absolutely, is sleep. Yes. Sleep during the day will disturb your mind. It will make your mind a little bit more crazy than it already is. Sleep should be done during the night. And sleep especially should not happen after food. Then you create a double problem. And it comes naturally, of course. After food you feel a little drowsy because all your energy is going to your digestion. So then very often people like to take a nap. If you need it, or at least don't lie down. Keep in an upright position somehow, As long as your stomach is still working on your food, sleeping is a very bad idea, because then the stomach stops working on your food, and then this food there is fermenting in your stomach, producing all kinds of gases, vayu, the wind element, and these will make you more nervous and create also many kinds of health problems. But so you should try not to sleep during the day, and not to sleep within 2 or better even 3 hours after food. And this is also true in the evening. When you eat in the evening, you should plan it in such a way that after food you still have 2 or better 3 hours before you go to sleep. Which is then this time that is required, and which must be filled with some entertainment. If you would not need that, if you would not need to stay awake 2 or 3 hours after food, then you could say, okay, let's just go to sleep. And wake up very early in the morning and, have nice sattvic time. But this is not possible. No? That's also why, in India, very often they prefer to have only 2 meals, so that the last meal comes at 5. Then at 8, 9 they can go to sleep, get up at 3, 4 in the morning. Right? Different kind of idea. But for us this is very difficult. We usually have evening meal around 6, 7. So then the earliest time to go is like 10 o'clock or something. Still, 10 o'clock, if you only sleep 6 hours, you can still wake up at 4. So, this is more or less what I can say about it. And then, yes, sleep. That is of course also important. The last part, how to go to sleep. Because so many people come to me with sleeping problems. It's like an epidemic. And there may be some very specific reason for it. But very often it's also about daily routine. Now, another cause, of course, is stress. People who have trouble falling asleep, who have trouble staying in deep sleep and waking up in the middle of the night, they are just simply too stressed. The only way to deal with it is to become less stressed, to make more time for peace, to give peace a chance, and then slowly, sleep will become better. But the other thing is quite clearly that they have disturbed their sleeping pattern. And without a good sleeping pattern, it's very difficult to sleep well, like when you have a jet lag. It's just the same thing. Some people have like a jet lag all the time. And especially once they have this problem, then maybe one night they will sleep very well. So they will sleep very long because they feel like, oh God, I haven't slept so well for a long time, so now I can sleep, so they sleep very long. And again, this way they disturb the pattern. So even if you are, having a hard time sleeping, you should not sleep too long if it happens. You should try to stick to a certain rhythm, and especially also go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time. Make this rhythm. And if you can keep it for 1 week, 2 weeks, I've had many people coming to me with this problem. If you can keep it 1 week, 2 weeks, then the sleeping problem will be largely solved. Just by doing that. And then there's a few other tricks. I already mentioned artificial light, keeping it dimmed, and also definitely not watching TV like within 1 hour to 1.5 hour before going to sleep. TV these days is extremely hectic. That is because all these programs and movies and so on, they need to catch your attention because so many others are also trying to do that. So they are trying to make everything happen like at the same time. Or at least everything happens like very shortly after one another. So in like half an hour of a movie, you can go through like so many different kinds of emotions and situations, and it's just making your mind very, very excited. People don't realize that when blood is, being spread out all over the screen, that you may know that this is not real, but your mind doesn't. Your deeper emotional self has no idea. It is very strongly influenced by all that kind of imagery. So especially movies with very strong fear, anger, all these like negative emotions should be avoided. Some light movies maybe, or program, okay, this is again different. But so this is another factor for sleep. Then a bed which is too soft is also not very helpful. If bed is very soft, then you could say it does not push back to the body, which means the body has a continuous feeling of moving, right? So it can never relax. It always feels that it has to kind of, do something to keep still. So the muscles cannot relax. So I'm not saying you have to sleep on a very hard bed. That's for most people like very uncomfortable. But also a very soft bed is definitely not a good idea. Then sleeping with your bed in the direction north-south is usually less good than sleeping in the direction east-west. So changing the direction of your bed into the direction east-west is beneficial to sleep. And trying maybe even to move your bed to another corner of the room may also help, because sometimes some places are really not good for sleeping, whether you are facing this direction or any other direction, just because of some natural energies in the earth. So that is also possible that it may help.
It doesn't matter if your head is to the east or to the west. It's both okay.
Both are okay. It's more usual that your head is to the west, so that when you sit up you are facing east. This is like ideal. But okay, this may not be so suited to your room. Does not matter so much, this difference. No? And that's the main thing. I mean, I can give some tricks, like thinking backwards is a very good trick to fall asleep. Thinking backwards means that you think, oh, I'm thinking, okay, what was I thinking? Okay. What was I thinking before that? Okay. What was I thinking before that? Okay. And this is very tiring. It's very difficult. And then very easily you fall asleep. Also because it so clearly demonstrates how all this thinking is useless. If it's so difficult to go backwards 2 or 3 thoughts before, then what's the use? You can't even keep track. It's like a train which is running on, and you're on it, but it's not your train. So that is just a little trick I can say, which helps to fall asleep. Or little mantra, little centering, breathing things can all help. Foot massage, we were giving a class not long ago. Before sleep is very good also. So this is mostly about sleep. But the main thing about sleep is light and time. Going to sleep always at the same time, more or less, and getting up at the same time, and not sleeping too long, and not sleeping during the day. Sleeping during the day is one of the best things to do if you want to have sleeping problems during the night. It is very obvious. So I think that more or less covers the daily rhythm. But maybe you have some questions about it.
You just said no sleeping during the day. Does it mean also no power naps?
Power naps being like sleeping 10-15 minutes? Yeah. Well, yes, it means that also. But, there is something called yogic sleep. It is not real sleep. It is silence. And I think that when people talk about these power naps, meaning that they feel very much energized afterward, that they are not actually sleeping. That they are more going, into a no-thought mind, and having something called yogic sleep, yoga nidra. And this is possible to learn also, to do it consciously. So, okay, you have to feel. Whatever I'm saying may be wrong. Whatever I'm saying is only interesting so that you can try it out and see if for you it is true or not. If it is not true, forget about it. If you feel that this kind of power nap is good for you, good. I think there's a difference. I think many people who take a power nap, they don't really lie down, for example. They go in a chair like this. It's already very much better. Energy-wise, it's very different.
Can I stay inside or do I have to get outside to receive the prana?
Outside, inside, it comes both ways. I mean, for prana, it is very good to have an open window. Anyhow, this is again a little more difficult here because of winter and heating and all these things. But at least before you do that meditation, opening the window a little bit, letting that energy come in, you could say, yes, definitely it will help. But you don't have to go outside.
Together with someone and you sleep together at night and that person isn't necessarily in the same rhythm.
Well, Dharma always comes before sadhana. So that which is your natural duty, because for example you are a mother of a child, always comes before any kind of other spiritual sadhana, exercise or whatever. Always. So like having a small child does not make it very easy to do this kind of morning ritual pattern. No? Because when the child wakes up, you have to serve it. So then serve it. No problem. That is just a time of the life.
But I guess with older children it could be relaxing also to get up before.
Yes. I must say always try to get up like 1 hour before my son, so that I can have at least that. But now he's almost 14 years old, so he's no longer needing me in the morning. He does his own things. But before, of course, he wanted to play with me and do things. So then at least 1 hour I used to take. Yeah. And then you mentioned partners. Well, yes, it can be quite disturbing for your life partner if every morning at 5 o'clock the alarm goes off. You know. If he doesn't understand why you are doing this, he may feel this is a daily annoyance. Choosing the right partner is very important. Yes, well, whatever partners are also very important in themselves. So if you have a good love relationship, that is very, very valuable. So if that means you can't get up before sunrise, okay. You have to weigh yourself, the value of it. But I have said in the class on love relationships that if you still have, the choice to choose a life partner, then if you are serious about your own spiritual growth, then better choose a life partner who has similar idea. Otherwise it becomes very difficult. If you already have a life partner, and maybe at some point you are starting on this path, then better keep that life partner and compromise accordingly. Don't throw away your loved one, for any kind of thing that I am telling here in my classes. That would be very wrong. Love is very important.
Wake up earlier, and sometimes maybe find a balance in it.
I'm not saying you always have to wake up at the same time. I'm saying if you have sleeping problems, then you always have to wake up at the same time. If you don't have sleeping problems, then there's some variation can be there. But the whole thing will become more easy if there is more or less, plus minus half hour or something, same kind of time. But you are free. Anyhow. And it is not because maybe today it didn't work, that trying it tomorrow is useless. You can always try again. But try. Never be dissatisfied whenever you don't meet up to your own expectations. That's useless. Just try to understand what happened maybe, to learn from it, not to make the same kind of mistake. Then forget about it. Try again. That's the only thing. And as I said, for 30 years I'm trying with this kind of story. And still this is not always like in balance. And still I may feel, now I have to move out to work and I have not done that, which I've really started to appreciate doing every day. But this day it could not happen because maybe for too long time I was listening to some music. But okay, a little freedom must be there.
Drink coffee. And another question I have is, you're speaking about currents in your nose. The left is connected with what, and the right is connected with what?
Left, when this one is open, then you are more emotionally based. When the right one is open, you are more rationally based. Rationally, you are more ambitious, more straightforward. Left, you are more emotional, more peaceful, but maybe also a little bit less clear in your communication. So this is a different kind of thing. Left is better for art. Left is definitely also better for meditation, unless you have both in balance, that is the best. Right is best for speech, for writing, for acting, doing things. Right is male, left is female. There's no other way to see it. But so you were saying about feeling tired during the day. Well, there can be 100 reasons. Something may be wrong, like in your biochemistry, making you tired. There are so many people having like chronic fatigue syndrome, which sounds like it's a particular disease, but actually this is not a particular disease. This is just a particular symptom. But many causes can be there. So to analyze those causes is not so easy. But as I said, the main thing is to reduce stress in your life and to improve your sleeping quality by making it more fixed and not too long. Those are the main things, but hundreds of others may be there. And so on. But if you are tired and you feel you sleep enough, and you feel you sleep well enough, then definitely you need to reduce your stress. Unless you may be like lifting very heavy weights all day, which would be another reason why you would be tired. But if there's no physical like work that you do which makes you tired, then quite clearly it's the mental which is getting tired. And the mental does not so much get tired from mental weightlifting, it gets tired from getting stressed. So working on your stress level, your emotional well-being is the main thing.
But I think every problem is for every person.
Yes, that's why you have to find out yourself what works, what doesn't. But definitely there are also other ways. If you have financial problems, then there are other ways to deal with it. I had a lot of financial problems before, so I know a little bit about that. And yeah, like some years back. So the way I dealt with it was that I would only look at it on Friday afternoon. Only on Friday afternoon I would open the invoices and bills and things that come and put them all there, see how much money I have, see what needs to be paid most urgently, pay it, put everything in the closet. What's the use? To do anything more, there's no use. So anyhow, if you have financial problems, you probably need to work very hard, make a lot of money, and try to pay back everything as soon as you can, so you don't have to pay too many fines and interests on whatever money you owe. So why think about it? So this was a very good way to do it. So whatever invoice came, I didn't open the envelope, I just put it in a box. Friday afternoon. Very good system. With most problems, like with most relatively real problems, there are many relatively unreal problems. Those are just best to ignore. But some relatively real problems are there which you cannot completely ignore. They are some kind of like your duty to work with them. Then the main thing is that most people, they spend too much time thinking about it and not enough time doing something about it. Precisely because they are so much thinking about it, they are very stressed about it, they are very like going crazy about it, so they never come to some kind of solution, some kind of plan. And that is exactly what you need to do. If you have a relatively real problem, look at it and make a plan. Make a deal with yourself, okay? This is the best way I can do it. And then forget about it, but do it. Follow the plan. This is the main thing. And remember, anyhow, it's only relatively real. So, anyhow, only something which comes and again will go.